In this session, we're going to work with numbers. For Python, we can convert numbers or use a function. Let's start by converting a number to a string. If we want to concatenate an integer, such as cost of water, that is assigned 3, we can print the value but need the string form. For example, print water cost, then the variable cost of water plus dollars. Do you see how cost of water has a brown background? That is because there is a problem. Run and the console shows type error, can only concatenate str, not int, to str. This exception has two parts. First part is the type of error, and the second part is the message. Type error means there is a data type mismatch. The message is saying we can only concatenate string to string and not use integer. We must convert the integer to a string. You know how a number can be an integer or floating point? A similar exception shows up if we update cost of water from 3 to 3.25. Run again, the console returns not float. We convert the value to a string by passing in cost of water to str. str is the string function. This time in the console, we see water costs $3.25. The int and float function help when converting a string to a number. Whenever we use input, Python makes all of the information a string. So if I write, how much does candy cost? The information inside the quotes is a string. Also, the information we type as a user will be a string. Assign this value to price. Watch what happens when I print price. There is no error, but what if we need to calculate the price? Then add a text. There is an error that's going to show up because 08 has a brown background. It's the same as the previous error about string to string, not float. Bingo, we see not float. Now we convert to a float by passing in price to a float function. Now it's all good. We can calculate price by adding text. Let's run and see what the console shows. 1.07. Converting to an integer is the same, but returns an exception if we are not passing in the correct data type. For example, I'm going to erase this and write number and assign number to 12.97, but place 12.97 inside the quotes. This is a string value, but we cannot convert the floating point number to an integer. So if I write print int and place number inside int, then run, we see value error, invalid literal for int method with base 10. Value error is the type of error. meaning it is the right data type, but the value is inappropriate. The message, invalid literal for int with base 10, means the int method will not allow us to pass in a floating point number represented as a string. We can keep the value in quotes, but it has to be an integer like 12. Run, and we no longer see the error or the exception. We can also change the value to from a string to a floating point number. By changing the floating point, we convert this to 12.97. Remove the quotes, then add back 97. Run, and the console only shows 12, which is the whole number. There are more math functions that we can use with our numbers. We can also use round. The purpose of round is to return the nearest integer value. Just replace int with round and the console shows 13 because it round up. We can also use ABS. This is short for absolute, which returns the absolute value of a number. It always returns a positive number. If I make this a negative 12.97, then play, we see 12.97 as a positive number because 12.97 positive is the absolute value of negative 12.97. Now, we can also use another function like POW. This is POW, and it returns two arguments. The first argument is the number like 10. The second argument is a number like 3. This reads 10 to the power of 3. The answer should be 1000, just like our arithmetic operator accession when we use exponent to calculate 10 to the power of 3. Now I'm going to run after I print. The console shows 1000 as we expect. Another function we can use is min. The purpose of min is to return the smallest argument. It would return the smallest of these two numbers, 10 and 3. The console returns 3 because it is the smallest number. We also have max, and that's the opposite of min, and it will return the largest of 10 and 3, 10. In addition to these functions, we have some complex functions from the math module. The math module allows us to access reusable functions from math after we import. This statement brings in outside code to our file so we can perform a math operation. You can find a list of operations online. For example, I'm going to erase max 10.3 and write sqrt and place in 25 inside the function. This is the square roots function. It returns the square root of a number. Square root is the value of a number multiplied by itself. The square root of 25 is 5 because 5 times 5 is 25. The console shows 5.0. That's it for working with numbers. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next session.